In a small town nestled between rolling hills, there stood a school named Northwood Elementary. It was a quaint, old building with creaky wooden floors and heavy wooden doors that seemed to harbor secrets of years gone by. One rainy afternoon, the clouds grew dark and the rain came down in torrents. Thunder roared and lightning lit up the sky, casting eerie shadows over the school. In the heart of Northwood, there was a small, tight-knit community. The pride of this community was Northwood Elementary, a school that had stood for generations. However, it was not the history of the school building that sent chills down the spines of the townsfolk, but rather a dark legend that was whispered from one generation to the next. On that fateful stormy day, when the lightning streaked across the sky, students and teachers took refuge in the dimly lit classrooms. They huddled together, clutching flashlights, waiting for the power to return. The minutes turned into hours, and with each passing second, the unease grew. When the lights finally flickered back to life, the atmosphere was filled with confusion and fear. A head count revealed that several students, including little Emma, the mayor's daughter, were nowhere to be found. Panic spread like wildfire, and the school went into immediate lockdown. The small town banded together, searching every nook and cranny, but the missing children seemed to have vanished into thin air. The investigation was led by the town's sheriff, a stern and rational man who had never believed in ghost stories or supernatural occurrences. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, he found himself at a loss for explanations. It was as if the missing children had been swallowed by the very walls of Northwood Elementary. Rumors began to swirl. The townsfolk, desperate for answers, whispered of the school's dark history. It was said that the school had been built on the grounds of an ancient burial site, and that the spirits of the restless souls were responsible for the disappearances. Some claimed to have heard eerie whispers in the wind, telling of a malevolent presence that lurked within the school, a presence that fed on the innocence of children. Desperation led the sheriff to enlist the help of a renowned paranormal investigator, Dr. Eleanor Blackwood. Dr. Blackwood had spent her life studying the supernatural, and she arrived in Northwood with a suitcase full of arcane instruments. She ventured into the bowels of the school, her flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness. What she discovered in the deepest, most forsaken corners of the school would haunt her for the rest of her days. She found a hidden chamber, its walls covered in cryptic symbols. In the center of the room lay a dusty, old tome, its pages filled with incantations that seemed to beckon to the beyond. As she delved into her research, the storm outside grew fiercer, and the once solid walls of Northwood Elementary began to tremble. The very air seemed to thrum with a malevolent energy. Dr. Blackwood realized that the answers to the mystery lay within that ancient book. The night was filled with thunder and lightning as Dr. Blackwood, with trembling hands, began to recite the incantations. The room darkened, and a chilling gust of wind swept through the chamber. The very floor seemed to shift, and she felt herself transported to another realm, one filled with shadowy figures and whispers that spoke of a hunger for innocent souls. The townsfolk, who had gathered outside the school, watched in awe and terror as the building seemed to pulse with an otherworldly light. The storm raged on, but at that moment time seemed to stand still. Dr. Blackwood returned from that harrowing journey, but her hair had turned white, and her eyes had seen things that no human should ever witness. She had found a way to release the children, but the cost had been high. Northwood Elementary would forever be haunted by the memory of that day. To this day, the legend of the mysterious disappearances of Northwood Elementary endures, a story told around campfires and whispered in the dark. And on stormy nights when the wind howls and the lightning flashes, one can't help but wonder if the spirits of the past still linger, waiting for the next lockdown to claim their innocent victims. Within the quiet and secluded art room of Trinity Academy hung a painting that had cast a shadow of dread over the school for generations. It was known as the Cursed Portrait, and it was the work of a former student named Sarah. Sarah, a talented artist, had once been a bright and promising student out of Trinity Academy. She had a penchant for painting, and her artwork was admired by all. But Sarah had a dark and troubled soul, and her paintings often reflected the inner turmoil she could not escape. One stormy night, during a school lockdown, a group of students found themselves in the art room. The thunder rumbled, and the rain beat against the windows as they sought refuge from the raging tempest. The room was dimly lit, save for the eerie glow of the painting that hung on the far wall. Its frame was ornate, its canvas large, and its subject was haunting. The cursed portrait depicted a figure half shrouded in shadows. Its eyes were hollow, and its grin seemed to stretch unnaturally wide. The figure's hand was outstretched, as if reaching out from the painting itself. Curiosity got the better of the students, and they approached the painting with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. They stared at it, transfixed by its malevolent beauty. As they gazed upon the portrait, they began to hear faint, distant sobs, as though someone were weeping from within the canvas. The students felt the air grow colder, and a shiver ran down their spines. They claimed that they saw the figure's eyes flicker with an unnatural light, and its sinister grin seemed to widen as though it were mocking them. Fear gripped their hearts, and they quickly turned to leave, but the door was sealed shut as if by an unseen hand. Panic set in as the room grew colder still, and the sobs from the painting became louder, filling the air with an eerie lament. The students huddled together, desperately trying to break free. Their cries echoed in the room, mixing with the mournful wails of the figure in the portrait. It was as if the painting had come to life, and the malevolent presence it contained sought to claim their souls. As the storm outside raged on, the students huddled in fear, their flashlight beams dancing across the room. They could see the figure in the painting moving, its hand inching closer to the frame, as if it intended to step out and engulf them. The minutes turned into hours, and the students were trapped, unable to escape the grasp of the cursed painting. Their faces were etched with terror, and they prayed for salvation. As dawn broke and the storm subsided, the art room door swung open as if released from a sinister hold. The students stumbled out, trembling and pale, forever scarred by their encounter with the cursed portrait. The school was placed under lockdown for days, as officials and paranormal experts tried to understand the malevolent force that had possessed the painting. Some suggested it was the tortured spirit of Sarah herself, forever trapped in her creation. The cursed portrait was eventually removed and locked away in a secret location, its secrets never to be revealed again. But the legend of the painting endured, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within the quiet walls of Trinity Academy. Visitors to the school speak in hushed tones about the cursed painting, and many wonder if it still hangs in some forgotten corner of the world, waiting for an unwitting soul to set it free. In Kent College, there was a place that struck fear into the hearts of students, teachers, and townsfolk alike. It was the school's library, a seemingly ordinary room with rows of dusty bookshelves and old, creaky wooden tables. But within the library, hidden away in the farthest corner, lay a sinister secret that had haunted Northwood for generations. It was said that the library had a history as dark as the stories it contained. Many years ago, during a lockdown that stretched through a stormy night, a group of students had sought shelter among the towering bookshelves. It was during their desperate attempt to find solace from the tempest outside that they stumbled upon a dusty, black leather-bound book, adorned with cryptic symbols that seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly energy. Curiosity got the better of them, and they opened the book, not realizing the ancient power it held. The moment the pages of the book were exposed to the dim library light, a chilling gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing every flickering candle and lantern. The students were plunged into darkness, their screams echoing through the silent room. As their eyes adjusted to the dim light, they saw ghostly figures materialize among the bookshelves. These spectral forms had hollow eyes that seemed to pierce the very core of their souls. The students claimed to have heard whispers of ancient incantations, words that were beyond human comprehension. The room was filled with an unnatural cold, and shadows danced on the walls, each one taking on a sinister life of its own. The students huddled together, trembling with fear. As the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of spectral voices that seemed to seep into their minds. Hours turned into what felt like an eternity, as the students were trapped in the haunted library, the ancient tome their only source of light. The book seemed to absorb their fear and feed off their vulnerability, growing more powerful with each passing moment. Outside, the storm raged, but the true tempest was within the library itself. The students realized that the book was the source of the malevolent presence, and they resolved to close it and seal the secrets within. With trembling hands, they clutched the pages and tried to reverse the incantations. It was a desperate act of survival, and they felt the strange force push back, resisting their attempts to break free. In the darkest hours of the night, their perseverance paid off. The last incantation was reversed, and the room was filled with a blinding white light that drove the shadows away. The students found themselves free from the grip of the strange, scary book, but they were forever changed by the experience. The library, however, bore the scars of that night. Its walls were etched with ancient symbols, and the whispers of the incantations still echoed in the air. The townsfolk declared the room off limits, sealing it with heavy chains and padlocks. The haunted library became a place of dread and whispers, a room that none dared to enter, especially on stormy nights. As the years passed, the story of the haunted library spread throughout the town. The memory of that night haunted the students who had been there. And the legend of the strange book lived on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that could be unleashed by curiosity and the unknowable mysteries that lurked within Kent College. Those who speak of the haunted library do so in hushed tones, and many wonder if the ancient tome still rests on a forgotten shelf, waiting for the next curious soul to uncover its secrets. Trinity Academy, a school in Stafford Village. There was a legend that had been whispered from one generation to the next. A story that sent shivers down the spines of students and townsfolk alike. It was the story of the phantom janitor, a figure who had haunted the school for as long as anyone could remember. Long ago, in the annals of the school's history, there was a dedicated and tireless janitor named Henry. He was known for his unwavering commitment to maintaining the school's pristine condition, even during the most turbulent of times, including school lockdowns. But one fateful night, during a storm much like the one that raged outside the windows of Trinity Academy on that fateful day, Henry mysteriously disappeared. It was during a lockdown, the rain lashing against the windows and thunder echoing through the hallways, that Henry had gone about his duties as usual. He had always been a man of few words, content to mop the floors and tidy the classrooms in silence. But as the night wore on, he failed to return to the janitor's closet. Panic swept through the school as teachers and students searched for Henry in vain. The town sheriff was called, and a thorough investigation was launched. But no trace of the janitor was found, and it was as if he had vanished into thin air. In the days and weeks that followed, the townsfolk couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The school was shrouded in a heavy, unsettling silence, and rumors began to circulate that Henry's disappearance was linked to the school itself. Some claimed to have heard faint jingling of keys in the hallways, and the sound of a mop dragging across the floor when there was no one in sight. But the most chilling reports came from students who had ventured into the school during lockdowns, seeking shelter from the storm. They would often find themselves alone in the dimly lit hallways, their flashlights their only source of comfort. And then, in the shadows, they would see him. The phantom janitor was said to be a figure cloaked in tattered rags, his eyes hollow and vacant. He moved with a slow, deliberate pace, his footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. He never spoke, but his presence was enough to send shivers down the spine of anyone who encountered him. On some nights, the students claimed that they would hear a whispery voice, almost too faint to discern. It would urge them to stay in the light, as though the janitor knew something about the darkness that lurked in the hidden corners of the school. The sightings of the phantom janitor were often dismissed as overactive imaginations. But there were too many accounts to be mere coincidences. The legend grew, and students began to avoid the dimly lit hallways during lockdowns for fear of encountering the spectral figure. As the years passed, the phantom janitor became an indelible part of Trinity Academy's history. The students shared their stories with hushed voices, and the legend persisted, adding to the school's aura of mystery and dread. On stormy nights when the wind howls and the lightning flashes, the memory of the phantom janitor still lingers. Students and townsfolk alike wonder if the janitor is a guardian spirit, protecting the innocent from the malevolent forces that may haunt the school. Or perhaps he is a lingering reminder of the secrets that Trinity Academy holds. Secrets that are known only to those who dare to venture into its dimly lit hallways during a lockdown. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to become an official member of this channel. Just click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out. If you haven't already, smash that like button to show your support and let us know you're enjoying the content.